Alrighty, what's up, y'all? How we darn? It's just your boy today. If you are curious where Badake like cake is, he's probably landed by now, maybe not, but he flew to New York to go see some family. So it's just gonna be your boy today doing the live stream. Do me a massive favor, as always, if you can support me, support the channel, support us, drop a like on the video. That always helps. I'm actually going to tell you guys here in a second my like goal and what I'm prepared to do next week if we hit that like goal. It's just going to be me for about 3 weeks now, so we're going to get a little cozy. We're going to talk about some 2023 NFL mock drafts, prospects, the entire 9 yards. Y'all know how it goes. What's up, Daniel? How you darn? Paco, good to see you. Leave a like for the free smarts. Appreciate you, Paco. Andrew says 12 teams, start 10, half PPR. Which trade is better for me now? Giving up Tyreek, get Cup, and a choice of a 24 first. Giving up Tyreek. All right, so 2 options. You get Cup and your choice of a 24 first, or Swift. And the second option is get a 23 second, a 24 first, and 25 first. I think this really depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're in a win now window, then you would probably prefer the Cup deal in the 24 first or Swift. But if you're looking to completely rebuild, then you would probably prefer the pick side of that. So I think it just depends on what you're looking to do there. What's up, Paco? Good to see you as well. Good evening. What's up? What's up, Matt? He says if you want someone to jump on with sometimes, let me know. Fantasy Nation, Elite Fantasy Nation, do a pod with my boys. That's awesome, Matt. That's awesome. Now, we anyone who's a part of the industry in any sort of way, it takes a lot of work and effort to continue to grind, so we definitely got respect for it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Again, if you can do me a huge favor, drop a like.
You like that? You like
If you like the content. If you don't like the content, hey, look, I get it. Not everyone's going to like the content, but drop a like for me. That would mean a lot. What we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at a 2023 NFL mock draft. And essentially what we're going to be doing is this is an updated NFL mock draft. After week 11, we have seen now where all these teams are. It will continue to change as the year goes on, but this is the current draft order. We are going to talk about this mock draft. We're going to talk about the landing spots and how it could potentially impact the dynasty perspective of some of our favorite prospects in the 2023 class, which we do like. I know you're already going to be hearing on Twitter, oh, the 24 class is way better. It's, you get rid of your 23 picks. We heard the same thing last year. It's a fine class. It was a great class. Breece Hall was incredible. Ken Walker's incredible. All the wide receivers in this class have been incredible. That is just farming at its best. Okay, if you see a tweet like that, just reply to it and say, stop farming. Okay. Every class has its strengths. Every class has its weaknesses, but this is a good class. Andrew, I'm going to talk about my biggest sleeper in a second here, but what I want to let you guys know is I have a huge like goal for this stream, so there'll be people who are watching it later. My like goal for the stream is 100 likes. That seems pretty unrealistic, but I think with your guys' helps, we could potentially do it. If we hit 100 likes, I am prepared next week on the live stream to do a dynasty startup and include the 2023 rookie class in that startup. And I'm going to be doing it with you guys if we hit that like goal. Again, as you guys know, maybe some of you know, some of you don't, but if you're in our Discord, we send out links for you guys to be a part of our mock drafts. So this time next week, if we hit that like goal, I'm going to be doing a startup draft with you guys, including the 2023 rookie class. I think it could be a lot of fun. So help us get there. Would love to do that kind of content for you guys. And I'm sure that you guys would enjoy it as well. Please let me know if the stream is all good. Thumbs up in the chat if it looks okay, if it sounds okay. Let me know. That would be great. Biggest sleeper in the 2023 class. Biggest sleeper in the 2023 class. Oh my gosh, that's a tough question, man. Biggest sleeper in the 23 class. I've been reviewing a little bit of film from one Condre Miller, I believe is how you say his name, Condre Miller, running back out of TCU. I just think he's not necessarily elite in any sort of position or any part of his skill set, but I think he's a really well-rounded, all-around running back. Great contact balance, really good build, like the type of build in the NFL that can take a beating, that can handle a workload, has above average speed. Kind of like the Ken Walker type. I'm not going to say that he is Ken Walker because he's not going to probably be drafted with the same capital, but Condre Miller, running back out of TCU, that would be like one of my sleepers right now. I would also say, well, I don't think this player is a sleeper, but I'm just going to stand by him. A lot of people are going to put him lower on their draft boards or their rookie rankings because of his age. He should have came out last year, and that is Zach Charbonnet. The dude just runs with an absolute attitude every single time he touches the ball. Uber efficient. I think his yards per carry right now are like over 7. He's been incredible this year. Really strong runner. I like the way that he runs. So those would be a couple names I would throw into the hat there. And then also, you know what? Andrew, the best answer I would have to that question right there is actually KJ Jefferson. Why is no one talking about KJ Jefferson? Genuine question. I don't understand why no one is talking about KJ Jefferson. Let me try and show you guys a little bit about KJ Jefferson just before we start the stream. I really like KJ, and no one is talking about him. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, KJ Jefferson Jr. this year has played really, really efficiently. 20 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. He's completing a very high percentage of his passes this year. And by the way, he lost his best weapon to the draft in Treylon Burks. These 2021 numbers, he had Treylon Burks, where he completed 67.3% of his passes through 2,600 yards, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, takes care of the ball, can do it on the ground as well, 664 rushing yards last year and 6 touchdowns. And then he lost Treylon Burks and was still incredibly efficient. He missed a couple games and they lost every game that he wasn't there. He is clearly the offense. He is a very efficient quarterback. Reminds me a little bit of Jalen Hurts. In fact, like I actually tweeted about this. I don't really have anyone who follows me on Twitter, but I just share knowledge there just for fun at times, just to kind of share my thoughts as I'm going through my film. But I talked about it a little bit. We need to be talking about KJ Jefferson. If a team wants to model after Philly and how they're building around Jalen Hurts, I think KJ is the answer in this class. Dual threat quarterback who, just like Jalen Hurts, he lacks the elite arm talent, but he more than makes up for it with his IQ, accuracy, mobility, and leadership. He is the Jalen Hurts type of mold. The only difference being he's actually a bigger quarterback than Jalen Hurts is. So I think he can take even more of a beating if you want to do that kind of, I guess, zone reads and options and stuff. So KJ Jefferson, I think, should be getting a lot more attention in this draft, and no one's giving him any attention. I mean, he's been incredible. He lost his best weapon in Treylon Burks, and I'm not seeing him anywhere in drafts. And as far as IQ goes, very, like with this type of prospect who lacks the elite arm talent, what you want to make sure that they can do is they can manage the game and they don't turn the ball over. And he's in his entire career, he's been extremely aware of how valuable keeping the ball is for his team. So anyway, I think KJ Jefferson should be getting a lot more talk. Can he rise maybe in the pre-draft process? Maybe. I think he might be able to, but I mean, let's see. Who knows? But we're going to get to this mock draft here in 1 second. I'm just going to quickly go through your comments. Likelihood. No, Bijan's coming out, guys. He's not going to get rid of that guaranteed money in the NFL. Is it time to unleash Rachaad White? Yes, he's going to be great. Bijan 101. Smash the like. Appreciate it. Stream is all good. Okay, cool. Arkansas quarterback is a beast. Yes, Matt. Playing in the SEC. I get, like, playing versus the best defenses and still dominating After working for the University of Maryland football team for the past 2 years, I'm a big Devi guy now. I love that Lakers. Shank in Shaq says, can you please give a quick thought on a trade? I would be happy to do that after we look at these mock drafts. I'm going to interact with the chat as well as I can, guys. But at the very end, I'm going to leave time for a Q&A as well. All right, so why don't we look at this 2023 mock draft and talk about how it could impact Dynasty football. So with the first pick, the Houston Texans still have the first pick in the 2023 draft after the Washington Commanders gave them a nice little spanking on their rears. And I mean, let's be honest, most teams have done that this year. But with the first overall pick, what quarterback will they go? Comment right now. I want you to tell me, what's your initial thoughts? Who do you think Houston should go at quarterback at the 101? Should it be Bryce? Should it be CJ Stroud? I want you to comment and let me know. But according to this mock draft, the Houston Texans draft Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama. So they go Bryce Young first overall. Look, there's a lot of opinions between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. If Bryce Young was the size that CJ Stroud was, if he was 6'3", 6'4", 215 pounds rather than 6 foot, 190, then it's a no-brainer. Bryce Young would be the easy first overall pick in this draft. However, you can't point to many prospects who have been successful at his size, and I actually think they're being generous with the marks that they've given him. I think he could officially measure in at just under 6 foot and maybe 185 to 190 pounds. I think they're being a little bit generous there, but Bryce Young's a baller, and he's been at this size his entire career. This is nothing new for him. We have seen shorter quarterbacks been successful in systems. Think about Drew Brees and how he was successful in New Orleans. Think about Russell Wilson in his Seattle days, Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray is probably the closest, it's not an exact comp, but he's probably the closest comparison for Bryce Young as far as a modern day quarterback. So the type of quarterback who can improvise, he's probably going to have some passes batted down at the line of scrimmage, but the type of quarterback who can improvise on any single play. And not only is he improvising and he can run with the ball, but he's also improvising so he can extend the play and allow a broken play to happen with his wide receivers. Now, keep in mind that the Houston Texans, if you guys remember, who did they draft last year? Last year, they drafted his teammate in John Mechie. So we can kind of see what they would be building around with Bryce Young. You got Bryce Young now, Dameon Pierce. I wouldn't be surprised if they drafted another running back or brought one in through the free agency. You either keep Brandon Cooks to build around with your new rookie quarterback, or you bring in another wide receiver through the draft. Nico Collins, I prefer him as a wide receiver 3 on my team rather than a 2, but he's doing well. Meanwhile, Brevin Jordan, can anyone explain to me Brevin Jordan's career so far? Because I don't get it. But good offensive line around him as well. So this could be interesting to see Bryce Young in Houston. And if they can replace Deshaun Watson with Bryce Young and then have all these picks to build around him, we could see something brewing in Houston. I don't dislike the pick at all. But pick your flavor between CJ and Bryce Young. All right, so with the second overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, it belongs to the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers are thanking the Detroit Lions for winning games. They're saying, thank you so much. Thank you, Las Vegas. Thank you, Detroit. Thank you, Pittsburgh. We really appreciate all you guys winning these pointless games and helping us out, because we thought we could potentially be losing out on a quarterback here. With the second overall pick, we got the Carolina Panthers. They're done sending second-round picks for the Sam Darnolds of the world, the Baker Mayfields of the world. They want to build around a quarterback, and that is C.J. Stroud. So C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State. Oddly enough, I think their gameplay is kind of similar between CJ and Bryce. They can do similar things, but obviously I would say Bryce is the more mobile quarterback, the quicker quarterback. I would say they both have pretty good pocket awareness, but CJ Stroud has the size. He can sit in the pocket. He can take a hit. He can look through multiple reads and not panic on a play. That's my favorite part of his game, actually, is his pocket presence and his ability to look through his first read. It's not there. Second read, not there. Okay, there's my third read. You see that multiple times on film, and it's something that he does consistently. The IQ is through the roof. He can make any throw. The accuracy is what most people are going to tell you about with his game, which is incredible. I just like his pocket presence a little bit more, but I definitely think CJ Stroud can be a franchise quarterback. So how does this impact his dynasty value? I like it. I mean, he falls into a system that is clearly rebuilding. So you could say that for both of these quarterbacks, but at least they have draft picks that they can rebuild with now after they got rid of or moved on from the Sam Darnold fiasco. At least they have draft picks that they can build around. You got DJ Moore there. You got Terrace Marshall, who could potentially develop. It's not the best landing spot for a quarterback, as we've seen in the past. However, it could work out if they're going to truly rebuild around him. Okay, so I'm actually curious what people prefer. Let me know in the chat where you lean right now between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. Because at this point in the offseason, at this point in the scouting process, I have not decided on my quarterback one. And originally people were saying, when we were talking about how much we like CJ Stroud, don't draft an Ohio State quarterback. You know, if it needs to be said, don't scout a helmet. Don't scout a system. Okay, scout the player. That is going to do you a lot of detriment as someone who scouts players if that's how you go about doing it. And the same could be said about a certain wide receiver in this class. Don't write off a player because we haven't seen success from his position in the NFL. And don't bank on a player just because we have seen success from their position in the NFL, from their college. So, like, for example, don't rule out Ohio State quarterbacks, TCU wide receivers, just because they come from that college. All right, with the third overall pick, it is the Chicago Bears. And the Chicago Bears get what some people would consider the best player in the draft, Will Anderson. Now, this would make sense because they could use some help on their defensive line. They got rid of Robert Quinn as well and moved on from Khalil Mack. So it makes sense. This is necessary for their defense. But I still feel like everything should be about building around Justin Fields. I don't care if you have the worst defense in the entire NFL. I would rather you build completely around Justin Fields this year, and then maybe through free agency or maybe through the future drafts you can build your defense up. But I think everything needs to be about the progression of Justin Fields this year. If I'm the Bears and I end up at number 3, the ideal thing to do is to trade back. Trade back with one of these teams who want to take a shot on a Will Levis or one of those other quarterbacks in the draft this year. Can I trade back into the mid-second and get an extra second? I mean, can I trade back into the mid-first and get an extra first for next year? I think that's their play, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what they do. All right, with the 4th pick in the NFL draft, it is the Las Vegas Raiders, and they go Jalen Carter, defensive lineman, which makes sense because you have some pretty good edge rushers in Las Vegas, right? You've already got the combo of Chandler Jones, who was definitely overpaid, unfortunately, and Max Crosby, who has been incredible. Now you add Jalen Carter to that defensive line. Some people would argue that Jalen Carter is actually the best defensive player in this draft over Will Anderson. If you like Jordan Davis last year, I mean, Jalen Carter is even better. He's even better. All right, with the 5th pick, and let me just say, I hate this. I don't understand the hype around this player. I've been trying to give him grace. I've been trying to watch more games of his and understand why he's just like, it's like no matter what he does, his draft capital in mock drafts is not budging. It's not changing. Do GMs truly not care about the terrible performances we're seeing from him? I don't know. Maybe. But with the 5th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks, You probably already know the name if you've been on this channel for any longer than a couple days. The Seattle Seahawks go with Will Levis, quarterback out of Kentucky. Now, I'm pretty certain that any Seahawks fan, if they're going to watch this, they'd be instantly frustrated by this pick. Because Geno Smith is playing well. Why not ride with Geno for, a 2 to 3 year contract, continually build the team up around Geno and make way for a future quarterback to step into that position when the rest of your team is really solid. I think there's a lot of other needs they could address other than quarterback here, and especially this early. I mean, when will the Will Levis hype, no pun intended, when will it die? Will it ever die? I don't know. I mean, I think for me, the final straw was the loss to Vanderbilt. That was really the final straw for me. Vanderbilt, one of the worst teams in the SEC. I believe at the time they were at the bottom of the SEC. You can't even throw 50% completion percentage against this defense. You can't even keep a positive turnover ratio. You didn't throw a single touchdown. You didn't score a single touchdown. Your offense looked atrocious. Now look, I understand the Will Levis truthers out there are going to say his offensive line is the worst in the SEC, and I probably don't disagree with you. However, you have to be a player that overcomes the weaknesses of your team in college football. The skill gap from college football to the NFL is so immense. In college football, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of players and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of schools. In the NFL, it is only 52 men on 32 rosters. That's it. The skill gap is extremely different in the NFL. The speed is extremely different. The physicality is extremely different. The IQ is extremely different. And my big thing with Will Levis, I understand there's people out there who are going to say, well, Josh Allen didn't have the best stats and he panned out. Yeah, how many, you talk about Josh Allen, but how many failed Josh Allen projects are there? We just failed to leave that out of the Josh Allen conversation. Like, as if it's just guaranteed he's gonna be the next great quarterback like Josh Allen. For every Josh Allen, there are 100 failed projects. And my big issue with Will's game is that I don't see a quarterback who has it up here. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. But quarterback is the most difficult position to scout by far in the NFL, and including Dynasty football, because there is this intangible factor of, does he have it or not? Does he have it or not? Is it up here? And right now you're seeing that with even Zach Wilson in the NFL. Does he have the arm strength? Yeah. Does he have the ability to improvise? Of course. Can he make the incredible throws? Yes. But is it up here? No. Is his mental processing there? No. Can he read defenses well? No. And my issue with Will Levis is similar. I feel like he's a one-read quarterback. If his first read's not there, last year in 2021, if Wan'Dale Robinson's not open, he's tucking and running it. This year, there's no Wan'Dale Robinson. The wide receivers are young. You're seeing him struggle. And yes, I know that goes both ways. But I haven't seen the growth in his ability to read a defense. So for me, I understand why people are high on him. I just think he has the biggest bust potential of any top 10 pick right now in the NFL draft. You can get some truly game-changing, franchise-changing players in the top 10 of the NFL draft this year. It is a great class. I don't know that Will Levis is bust-proof. I don't think he is. So you guys let me know if you think I'm wrong. QBR, 63rd QBR in the NFL. QBR is not everything. 10 interceptions, 17 touchdowns, not rushing much on the ground. You can attribute that to the offensive line. You can attribute that to the change of the game plan this year. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I'll say this, like in dynasty drafts, if he's going anywhere near your top 6, what are we doing? Like in Dynasty rookie drafts, if he's being mocked anywhere near the top 6, what are we doing? I mean, before this year, we try to evaluate all the rookies, all the upcoming prospects for the previous year. So I've watched I've watched about 4 to 5 games of Will Levis in 2021. And obviously we've watched a couple games this year as well. I just don't see the progression. I don't see the progression for him. I don't think he should be anywhere near your top 6 of your Dynasty rookie drafts. Before this year, I didn't have a first round grade on him. I had a second round grade on him. And nothing's changed for me. If anything, I just have more question marks. I know his arm strength is there. I know he can make all the plays. I know he's an athletic guy. But people don't understand how rare what happened in Buffalo is. The combination you need from head coach to quarterback coach to mentors around him to the player having the desire to improve. I'm not saying Will doesn't. There are so many things that go into it, to the franchise building around him, to the right players being drafted around him, to the offensive line, to bring in impact wide receivers. Everything has to go right. And look, I guess if you want me to say anything positive, which people who like Will Levis out there are probably hating me right now, but if you want me to say anything positive, at least he, in this mock draft, at least he's going to a system that I believe in. My question mark, though, is how much longer do we have Pete Carroll for? Like, in the NFL. Hold on for a second. In the NFL, is Pete Carroll the type of head coach who is prepared to take a 5-year project and build around him? I don't know. Probably not at this age. He's the oldest head coach in the NFL. But it is a great landing spot if that is the case. If Carroll is willing to build around him, it's a great landing spot. And you have DK Metcalf to grow with. You have Ken Walker to grow with. The offensive line is improving. Defense, they found some real steals this year. I don't know. Rant over. Let me know if I'm a hater. All right, with the 6th overall pick, the Lions go Myles Murphy, edge rusher out of Clemson. Makes sense. Put him on the opposite side of Aiden. With the 7th overall pick, it's the Houston Texans. If this was me, if I was a GM, which I'm not, obviously, not qualified, but if I was a GM, I'd be going wide receiver here. Brandon Cooks obviously doesn't want to be in Houston, and it feels like they're going to part ways after this year. John Mechie is good, but he's a slot wide receiver, and he has his limitations. If you draft Bryce Young, 1, go get him a superstar wide receiver here at 7. It can be whoever you want it to be. It can be Quentin Johnston. It can be Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. It can be Case. I don't care. Like, whatever flavor you like, get him a true playmaker to grow with. But instead, they improve the offensive line, which I can respect. Peter Skoronski's the pick. This obviously helps Dameon Pierce's case. This obviously helps Bryce Young, not to the extent that we would want, but it still improves the offensive line immensely. All right, with the 8th overall pick, the Steelers get what a lot of people believe is the cornerback 1, and that is Kelee Ringo out of Georgia. Kelee Ringo, Cam Smith, Joey Porter Jr. There's a couple out there where people are debating as far as who's their cornerback 1. Kelee Ringo, I feel like, is more like the blue chip prospect. Think about, like, you're probably going to see similar debates as when like Pat Surtain came out and J.C. Horn came out, like that class. I think with this class, you'll see similar debates. But they improve their defense. That's their identity. I prefer, if the Steelers don't go offensive line in the first round, what are we doing? I mean, the Steelers need help on the offensive line. It is by far one of the bottom 5 groups in the NFL. Najee Harris, really inefficient, not all his fault. You're building around Kenny Pickett. I think offensive line needs to be the answer, but we'll see. All right, at number 9, the Jacksonville Jaguars. What position do we think they need? Well, You can't hurt to build around your quarterback and give him every single opportunity to succeed. They draft Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of TCU. What's your flavor? Tell me what's your flavor, because that's how I feel about this 2023 wide receiver rookie class. I don't know still to this point who my wide receiver one is. It's really tight between Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Kayshon Boutte. If I had to tell you today, I think my wide receiver one would be Jordan Addison. But I don't know the answer just yet. They go with Quentin Johnston here in Jacksonville. And all of a sudden, by the way, if you don't know who Quentin Johnston is, big body, 6'4", 215 pounds, great at the catch point, big X wide receiver, and he's not slow either. He's got pretty great speed. I really, really like his game. I think he could be, I don't want to compare him to DeAndre Hopkins because that's such a high ceiling. But I mean, that's truly like, if like, what's the ceiling? Like D-Hop type player. That's what we could be looking at here. The floor is obviously much lower, but I do like Quentin Johnston as a player. And now all of a sudden we look at what Trevor Lawrence has around him. If we look at this team and the way they've built around Trevor Lawrence, first off, the best thing that they ever did was getting rid of their head coach, who will remain nameless. But now all of a sudden, you got Christian Kirk, who can play a true slot role for this team. Okay, that's where he really operates at his best. When you take him out of the slot, it's not all that efficient. Then you have Calvin Ridley and Quentin Johnston. You already built your offensive lineup with Brandon Sheriff. I mean, for Dynasty, we probably dislike this because there are so many mouths to feed. But for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I really like this. Again, for these type of teams who took quarterbacks in 2021, everything is about building around your quarterback and giving Trevor Lawrence everything he needs to succeed. I like this. Quentin Johnston ends up being the first wide receiver off the board. Again, tell me what your flavor is. The wide receiver room this year, there's not going to be a bigger debate in Dynasty football other than this wide receiver room. Who's your wide receiver one? That will be the big debate the entire offseason leading up to the draft. That will be the debate this year. Bijan's clearly the quarterback or the running back one. I guess there will be debates as well with Bryce and CJ, but the biggest debate will be this wide receiver room. And I'm curious, if you're watching it live, let me know in the comments, who's your wide receiver one? And tell me why. And if you're watching it later, you can comment down below and let me know who your wide receiver one is. All right. With the 10th overall pick, that actually belongs to the Philadelphia Eagles. And they get cornerback Joey Porter. I mean, what really is the weakness of this Eagles team? The fun pick is putting Bijan Robinson there and just saying, fuck it, let's just go absolutely crazy on offense. The smart pick is, well, where are your weaknesses? I don't know if cornerback's a weakness because the cornerback room is pretty solid. But, I mean, hey, you can't go wrong getting in a good cornerback. They're at a premium in the NFL. With the 11th overall pick, we see the Cardinals improve their offensive line, which is definitely a need for this team. Offensive line is definitely getting older, and you would want to continually put pieces on that offensive line to help protect Kyler Murray as he grows with your squad. So they go Paris Johnson out of Ohio State. With the 12th pick, we get an absolute blockbuster of a pick, and that is Jackson Smith-Njigba heading to the Green Bay Packers. Now, Jackson Smith will probably still be most people's wide receiver one. I truly think it's going to be split 4 ways this year. But this is an interesting landing spot because instantly it makes him very intriguing for fantasy football. He would instantly be their slot wide receiver. We haven't seen yet if Jackson Smith can really translate to the outside. But that doesn't mean he's a bad wide receiver at all. I mean, every wide receiver has their limits. I wouldn't say Jackson Smith is anywhere near the most athletic wide receiver in the draft. He's not going to blow you away with his speed or his strength. He's an incredible after-the-catch wide receiver. But think about it. I mean, a lot of today's modern day wide receivers who are dominant aren't really athletic freaks. I mean, Cooper Kupp has been the wide receiver one last year, and his 40 was nowhere near the top of the charts. So just because you're an athletic freak doesn't mean that you're going to be a successful wide receiver in the NFL. Jalen Reagor. And just because you're not athletically a freak doesn't mean you're going to fail. Cooper Kupp. So Jackson Smith heads to Green Bay. I like this pairing with Watson, because I think Watson remains on the outside and Jackson Smith can really operate over the middle of the field. This would be great for fantasy. What worries me is how long does Aaron Rodgers have left? That's the only thing that would worry me with this landing spot. But Jackson Smith, again, you don't judge him based off of this year, because there's not really anything to talk about. How many catches does he have? Like, what, 5? I'm trying to find his name here. How many catches does Jackson Smith have? Yeah, he's got 5 catches on the year, but he's been dealing with an injury. So, but if you go back to 2021, you'll see he absolutely dominated production in 2021. Excuse me, with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson. Now, of course, the zinger there is if you have Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson on the outside, you're going to be open a lot in the slot, okay? But still, he performed well. He did everything that the team asked of him and more. 80 catches for over 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns. Never forget the infamous 3-touchdown game in the Rose Bowl. So this definitely would be Aaron Rodgers' favorite pick of the draft, I think. I think he would definitely enjoy it. All right, heading on to the next pick here. At number 13, we have the Detroit Lions going defense with Cam Smith. Okay, so the Lions miss out on their top quarterback choice, which Lions fans, as much as you probably want CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, the way the Lions are playing right now, this could be a possibility. You could miss out on a quarterback, and it could be Jared Goff again next year, unfortunately. Dream scenario for the Lions, they reunite Bryce Young and Jameson Williams, but right now they're just winning too many games, too many pointless games, and with MCDC there, it makes sense. So they go Cam Smith, cornerback out of South Carolina. Again, between Cam Smith, Joey Porter, and Keely Ringo, there will be a debate this year for sure. At number 14, the Colts go Michael Mayer. Look, Michael Mayer is a great prospect in so many areas. He's an incredible blocker. He's got a lot of grit. He's a very reliable pass catcher. He is the number 1 target on their offense in Notre Dame. He has shown that he can produce, but he's not elite in any area either. Let me know if I'm wrong. I don't think his athletic profile, we'll have to wait. Like, let's see what the testing looks like for Michael Mayer, because that could really impact his draft capital. But testing wise, I mean, I don't think he's going to blow anyone's, I should have thought of how to say that sentence before I use the word blow. Pause. I just don't think he's going to blow anyone away. Okay? I don't think his testing is going to blow anyone away. And I think this is too high for a tight end. So I don't like the pick. You just got Jelani Woods last year. Why don't you let him develop? Michael Mayer, to me, should be a 2nd-round pick in the NFL. In my opinion, he's tight end 1 in this class. No questions, okay? And I do see people talking about Darnell Washington in the chat. I'm a fan of Darnell Washington. The dude is huge. He's massive. But we haven't seen any production from him. Not to say that he can't produce, because the Georgia offense is a little bit different. If you're a Darnell Washington person, then you're just going off the traits, which is fine as well. But he obviously has some clear flaws in his game as well. Again, there's no clear reason to draft Michael Mayer this high, in my opinion. And I don't like the landing spot either. At number 15, we have the Falcons going Brian Breesy. The fact that Brian Breesy fell this far is very interesting to me. I guess other teams had different needs. I don't know. Brian Breesy, some people have him as like a top 2 defensive player in this draft. Top 3. He's dominant. Okay, well, Falcons might get a steal there. At number 16, talk about dream landing spot, people. If this happens, if you put Jordan Addison on the Los Angeles Chargers, we're talking instant top 12 dynasty wide receiver. Instant. I don't need to see a single play from Jordan Addison. I know who Jordan Addison is as a player. Won the Biletnikoff Award at Pittsburgh. He was dominant with Kenny Pickett. Now he goes to USC. He's been dominant in the Pac-12. Player comps for me look like Calvin Ridley. That's also the reason why he wore number 3 at USC, if you don't know. But for him, Calvin Ridley is like the person that he models his game off. He said that himself. I completely see it. Think about what prime Calvin Ridley did for the Falcons. I've heard well-respected people in the community compare him to Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy. You put Jordan Addison on the Los Angeles Chargers, he is an instant top 12 dynasty wide receiver. And he will instantly be locked in as my number 1 wide receiver in this class. I already said I was leaning that way, but it's still a 4-way tie. You put Jordan Addison here, oh my God, this is an incredible, incredible landing spot for him. Keenan Allen is incredible, but as we all know, wide receivers have an expiry date. And we saw the downfall of Julio Jones when the hamstrings started to be a little bit too much for him to come back from. I'm not wishing the downfall on Keenan Allen. What I'm saying is you look at the next 5 years, it's very unlikely that Keenan Allen is ever going to play at the level that he's played at before. Okay? It's very unlikely. Jordan Addison could be a dominant wide receiver for this team. Mike Williams, a little bit younger than Keenan. He can be your big threat. Josh Palmer can be your Y. And Jordan Addison can be an absolute game changer, not only for Dynasty, but just for football in general. We've seen this wide receiver core get injured. They need to get a dominant wide receiver in there. And a lot of people have been lower on Justin Herbert, but you have to keep in mind he hasn't had his wide receivers. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I love this landing spot. I love it for Justin Herbert. I love it for Jordan Addison. This instantly makes him my top wide receiver in the class if he was to land here. The best route runner in the class, no doubt. No doubt in my mind. That's how I felt about Chris Olave last year. The best route runner in the class. Always finds a way to get open. Some people might be worried about the size, but undersized players are able to dominate in today's game. Some people might compare him a little bit to Devonta Smith when it comes to his size. I think they're slightly different players, but I don't mind the comp. But this would be an incredible landing spot for Jordan Addison. I can see some of you guys agree as well. Got a little too excited there, so, bear with me. All right, with the 17th overall pick, Washington goes offensive tackle. Don't mind it. You can't get enough offensive tackles on your team. With the 18th overall pick, another offensive tackle, which this one actually makes sense for the Jets because their entire identity is around the run game. When Breece Hall is back, he's going to get another 20 to 25 touches every single game, and that's how they're going to win games. So if we don't know the status of Mekhi Becton, it makes sense to keep building around the offensive line. Their defense has already been pretty solid. At number 19, okay, I actually haven't seen this landing spot yet. I don't understand at all. I don't get it. But to be fair, this kind of thing happens every single year. We talk about the dominant running back of the class, and then they land in a spot where we're like, wait, what? They just got a running back. But the Jets just drafted Michael Carter last year. But wait, the Seahawks, Rashad Penny, he's like a top 10 back in the game. This kind of stuff happens every single year. I've said it before. I'll say it again. It does not matter where Bijan Robinson lands. He is locked and loaded as my 101. Now, assuming Tom Brady returns to the team, Bijan Robinson has a legit chance to be the RB1 in his first season. Not only in Dynasty, but in fantasy. I mean, it doesn't matter where he lands for me. He will be my Dynasty RB1 straight out the gate. The landing spot doesn't matter. He will instantly be my RB1 in Dynasty. But if we want to look at it from the bright side, Tom Brady returns. Rachaad White, yeah, as much as we like him, he goes back into that 20% of the workload role. Fournette's probably cut. And all of a sudden you have Bijan Robinson, who is in a... Hello? Okay, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. My mic is freaking out. Best case scenario, Tom Brady comes back to this team on a 2 to 3 year deal. And there's no question to me wherever Bijan goes, he's going to be a workhorse running back. There's no question in my mind. He's going to be. He's the best prospect as a running back since Saquon Barkley. No question in my mind. So the landing spot doesn't matter. But best case scenario, Tom Brady comes back and Rachaad White reverts back to that 20% workload. Bijan's the workhorse. Fournette's cut. Worst case scenario, Tom Brady moves on. And we have no idea who the quarterback is for this team, and the offensive line doesn't improve. But regardless, I'll bet on Bijan's talent no matter where he goes. This is a weird landing spot, man. This is a weird one. I don't understand this one. But I don't understand a lot of things. What can you do? All right, at number 20... The Broncos go linebacker. At 21, the Seahawks go edge rusher. We see another edge rusher to the Pats. To the Bengals, we see another edge rusher, 3 in a row. And then number 24, we have a big old zinger. We've got Jahmyr Gibbs to the Bills. I think we have seen Jahmyr Gibbs to the Bills. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think we've seen it almost 3 weeks in a row. Am I going crazy, or do we just keep seeing this landing spot? Look, personally, I don't hate the landing spot. I think if you draft a running back in the first round, if the Bills were to draft Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round... Oh, is my mic on again? Hello? Hello? Oh, no. My mic should be fine, right? Can you guys hear me? Thumbs up. Let me know if the mic's all good. But look, if the Bills draft Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round, they're going to game plan around him. He's not going to be the Devin Singletary, the James Cook of this team. He will be the dominant player. They will game plan around him. There'll be like 3 screens a game that they plan for him. He'll get like 5 targets a game. They're going to build around him. I like this landing spot. Great offense to be a part of. Locks him in as my second running back, no doubt. I mean, again, it doesn't matter where he goes. He'll be my second running back. All right, number 25, we see the Ravens get Kayshon Boutte. I've talked about this before. I just don't like the Ravens as a landing spot for any wide receiver. You know, it's tough to see Lamar changing. Lamar knows how to win games. And that doesn't involve hyper-targeting a wide receiver. Will there be games that Kayshon Boutte goes crazy? Yes. Hey, thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you for the sub, Anthony. Will there be games where Kayshon Boutte is dominant? Yeah, of course, because of his talent. But will there be inconsistencies? Yes. Just as we saw with Rashad Bateman, he was uber efficient with the limited amount of targets that he had, but this is not an offense that is going to ever throw the ball 50 times a game, 40 times a game. This will never be an air raid offense. So I just don't love the landing spots. This would definitely push me towards moving Kayshon a little bit down my rankings. And again, keep in mind, I do focus on talent more than landing spot. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, Jackson Smith, Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, and Kayshon Boutte are all very close in my rankings. There's so much in between them, and honestly, they're all very different receivers. Kayshon Boutte is like if you want to point to who's the Debo of this class or the potential Debo of the class, I would put that in Boutte. If you want to put like who's the Chris Olave of this class, the Calvin Ridley, I would say that's Jordan Addison. The D-Hop of the class, that could potentially be Quentin Johnston. All these receivers offer something different. None of them are really the same wide receiver. So, yeah, I don't like this landing spot, guys. I don't like this landing spot. Not to mention on the Ravens, everyone gets injured 3 times a year. It's been pain for the Ravens. Yeah, it's been pain for them. I actually have a really good friend who's a Ravens fan, and it's been a rough couple of years for him with injuries. All right, at number 26, the Titans go edge rusher. At number 27, the Cowboys go cornerback. And at number 28, let's just have a moment of silence for Hendon Hooker. An impromptu 10-second moment of silence. Hendon Hooker. I remember back in week 2 when I highlighted you on this channel and I told people, look out for my boy Hendon Hooker. I know he's an older quarterback, but he has made some massive strides in his game. He could truly step into an NFL team today and lead them to wins. Great arm talent, great accuracy, takes care of the ball, has great legs, great mobility, but he was already up in an uphill battle because of his age, and he just tore his ACL. My heart broke when I saw that play, and I don't think we will see Hendon Hooker as a first-round pick anymore. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. I struggle to see a scenario in which Hendon gets first-round draft capital, and if that is the case, if he's a third-round pick, we have to massively adjust our expectations in Dynasty football. This broke my heart. Honestly, of any injury this year, maybe outside of Trey Lance, this broke my heart the most. Trey Lance definitely is number 1 as far as breaking my heart. But this is devastating. Love Hendon Hooker. I just don't think he gets first-round draft capital. He already had such an uphill battle. But what an incredible year. And I think people who followed college football closely would understand why this is such a huge deal for him to do this at Tennessee. Tennessee is not a bad school, but they have never had a start to a season they have. But in the past 15 years, have they ever had a start to a season like this? Beating big names like Alabama, Kentucky, LSU, Florida, and having a quarterback who is elevating the rest of their team. For Tennessee fans, it's heartbreaking. You see how efficient he's been, second in QBR, a very high IQ player, only 2 interceptions, thrown over 3,000 yards. I know the Georgia game was there, but even when they were losing to South Carolina, he kind of brought them back. This broke my heart. And Hendon, if you ever see this, which you definitely won't, I'm sorry this happened to you, but I wish you the best of luck. All right, with the 29th pick of the NFL draft, forfeited. GG's. Don't do dumb things. With the 30th pick, the Vikings go cornerback. With the 31st pick, the Chiefs get B.J. Ojulari, edge rusher. I guess this makes sense. Always want to get a little bit younger on the defensive line. Yeah, I mean, where do you go with the Chiefs? It definitely is defense. That's their biggest need. They're terrible on defense. Pat Mahomes covers so many of their mistakes. And at number 32, we see another edge rusher go off the board. Now, the cool thing about Tankathon is they do a second and third round as well. So a lot of big names that we like in Dynasty that we've been talking about weren't drafted in the first round. Why don't we just quick fire, see where they landed in the second and third rounds? So we can see Jalen Hyatt, which Jalen Hyatt is going to rise up rankings. He's going to rise up Dynasty rankings. He's going to rise up NFL mock drafts and big boards. He will go ahead of Cedric Tillman, no doubt in my mind. I've compared him a lot to Will Fuller, and a lot of people don't like that comp, but Will Fuller was an incredible wide receiver in the NFL, and he made a huge impact. I think this could be an incredible landing spot for him. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones there, so I'm not sure how they mesh, but I think Jalen Hyatt could overtake him as the second wide receiver on that team. I like the landing spot. At number 39, okay, let's just talk when we see an impact player. Darnell Washington. Okay, these are 3 in a row. Darnell Washington to the Saints, which, I mean, will they ever have a dominant tight end? I don't know. I mean, if you put Darnell Washington on the Saints, I like his traits. I like his attributes. But they rotate tight ends like so often. It's Jawan Johnson one week. It's Adam Troutman one week. Taysom Hill caught the touchdown this week. I don't know. He could turn into a dominant tight end. I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant on him ever becoming a... Like, I struggle to see a scenario in which he's ever truly like a top 10 tight end in fantasy. But I could be wrong. But typically, if you aren't able to put up big production in college, it rarely happens in the NFL. But he has all the traits to do it. I think that's what people love about him. Huge body, big size, one-on-one balls he'll win. We have Anthony Richardson going to the Lions. Look, I like this landing spot. I just don't think Anthony's coming out. And I don't think he should. I think he needs to spend another year in Florida. Keep in mind, he is from Gainesville, so he's a hometown kid. I'm sure he's disappointed with the performance of Florida this year. A lot of hype for them, especially after first game beating Utah. He's not played his best. He needs to take another year to develop and come back out in 2024, I think. I don't think he's going to come out. Tanner McKee, one of those quarterbacks who has all of the intangibles. The size is there. The arm strength is there. He's going to get a bad rap because of where he played at Stanford. But if you're going to make excuses for Will Fuller, I mean, then we should make all the excuses in the world for Tanner McKee, who probably has the worst weapons in college of any quarterback that's come out in the past 3 years, I think. There is no weapons in Stanford. They're a terrible team. But if you watch his film, you can see what would make scouts excited about him. Very interesting landing spot in Indianapolis because he could sit an entire year behind Matt Ryan. I like this landing spot for him. This would make him I would say this would make him like an early 3rd round pick in Dynasty drafts. I could see that happening. Josh Downs goes to Atlanta. I'm trying to watch more Josh Downs film in doses. I like Josh Downs. There's a lot of people. There's a huge Josh Downs community out there. I like Josh Downs. Incredible athlete, extremely explosive, has shown dominant production. But I struggle to see a scenario in which he operates outside of the slot. That doesn't mean that he can't find the perfect fit and be a dominant player in the NFL. But I don't see a scenario in which he dominates on the outside at all. He's also a very fast player. I don't know. But this landing spot also makes you shake your head like, okay, I guess it makes sense. Like, he'll be the Olamide Zaccheaus, the Damiere Byrd of this team. But if it's still Marcus Mariota on that team, this would be hell. This would be hell. Rashee Rice goes to the Pats, big physical wide receiver. I like it. Let's see. We got any of these running backs? Here we go. Zach Evans, one of my favorite running backs in this class, lands in Miami. This is actually my favorite landing spot for a running back this year. I think any running back who lands there could be dominant. Zach Evans, former 5-star high school recruit. I mean, runs with passion. Great athleticism, in my opinion. Really good at the goal line as well. His goal line technique is incredible. People will hate on Zach Evans because Quinshon Judkins is an absolute superstar. And if people tell you that you shouldn't draft Zach Evans because Quinshon Judkins was the #1 running back at Ole Miss, I just don't think you should trust those people personally. Quinshon Judkins was an absolute steal in the recruiting class this year. Lane Kiffin can find those steals. He's one of the best recruiters in the country. And even though he was marked as a 3-star recruit, he will be the best running back in the 2025 class, no doubt. He is better than Zach Evans, no question. But that does not mean that Zach Evans is a bad prospect. He's an incredible prospect. You just have the number 1 prospect in 2025 to compete with. Luke Musgrave, I don't know enough about him to really comment. Zay Flowers, okay, I like that landing spot. Could be interesting. He could definitely develop there. Dalton Kincaid, this is a very cool landing spot for Dalton Kincaid, who has shown to be a true weapon for Utah this year. Tyler Van Dyke, I'm pretty much out on him. Cedric Tillman lands in Carolina. I guess he'll compete with Terrace for wide receiver 2 duties there. Okay, fair enough. Parker Washington to New York. They desperately need a wide receiver. Dante Demas to the Chiefs. I think he'd get lost there. Blake Corum to the Cardinals. I love that landing spot. Blake Corum, yeah, he's undersized height-wise, but he's very thick. He's got the lower body to be a dominant running back in the NFL. No doubt in my mind. But that looks like that is the entire draft for today, guys. Again, friendly reminder, if we hit the like goal for this, and it doesn't have to be just on today's stream, but if people watch it later, if we hit the like goal on this, I'm going to do a 2023 startup draft with you guys next week on this stream. And we're going to include the 2023 rookies in a startup draft. So if you can do us a favor, drop a like. The like goal is 100. I know that sounds crazy, but we have a lot of people who watch these streams later. So I think maybe with their help, we could do it. With your help right now, if you drop a like, we can get closer. So do us a favor, drop a like. And I want to leave some time for a Q&A now. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, feel free. It can be about anything Dynasty related. It can be about rookies. It can be about 2024. I don't care. I mean, I'll leave a couple minutes here if there's any questions for you guys to ask. Feel free to ask them now. And I'm just going to take a seat because I've been standing for about an hour or so. Always nice to rotate the standing and the sitting. But if there's no questions, then I'm happy to end the stream as well. If everyone's satisfied, everyone's happy. Let me know, y'all, if you got any last minute questions. Thank you for the subs today. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the interactions. We hit 40 likes, which is awesome. Only 60 likes to go, which, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, sometimes when these live streams finish, we can still hit those kind of numbers. But anyway, doesn't look like we're going to get any more questions, but just to let you guys know what's happening with the channel, we're going to release, I just recorded a Dynasty trades video. And because it was just me, I actually went through the entire Discord and reviewed every single trade that was in there. I hope you guys enjoy watching that. I'm also planning on releasing a video very soon, probably this week, where I explain how we in our leagues determine the rookie draft order and how we try to avoid tanking in our leagues. That's some of the biggest questions we get, is how do you determine your rookie draft order? And is there a way that you stop tanking? Well, I'm making a video today that's going to show you exactly what we do in our leagues to try and avoid that. Now, there's no perfect science, but I don't know. I like the way that we do it. I'm curious if other people do it as well. And then I think I will also be doing an updated tier list for positions in Dynasty as well. So running backs, wide receivers, etc. All right, we got some questions from Kevin. Says, Marvin Harrison Jr., how much further ahead do you like him over the... Marvin Harrison... I truly think he will be the best wide receiver prospect since Jamar Chase. I'll take Marvin Harrison over every 2022 wide receiver, and I'll take him over every 2023 wide receiver. So I love him. Definitely. I think he's incredible. I think he's an incredible prospect. How much fab would you drop on Latavius? In redraft or dynasty? I guess it doesn't really matter at this point of the year. It's so late. I'd be willing, like, look, it depends on how desperate you are. Let's say you have a $100 fab and you desperately need an RB2, then drop $25 to $30. But if you're just picking him up as like a depth piece, I would say like 20. To be honest, you might have to. I think people might go crazy though. I think people might pay more because he clearly is a starter there. So if you really want to lock him up, I think you might have to spend like 35. As crazy as that sounds. What would you sell Nick Chubb for? I would say Nick Chubb is like well worth a mid first round pick, maybe a mid first and a second. That's kind of how I would value Nick Chubb. If you're looking just draft picks, I would say like a mid first and a mid second. If I can lock up an early first, like if you can guarantee me Jahmyr Gibbs for Nick Chubb, then I would just do that as a straight trade. That's probably what I would sell him for. And we know this in Dynasty football. Anytime a player hits like 27 years old, it's like his value tanks. So don't be surprised if that happens. Anthony says, Blake Corum looks like a superstar. Why do you think he's going pretty late in the draft? And where do you think he goes in Dynasty? You know, Blake Corum is such an interesting case because I'll tell you the reason why I think he's going late is because of his size. And I think people only look at the 5'8" part of his size. You watch him on film and you say, I mean, he looks kind of short. And then you look at his height and you're like, oh, he's 5'8". And I think a lot of people with their models, my model, will put him completely off their board. Which I actually understand. Like, for example, that player for me this year is Devin A-Chain. And I know that this will be a huge disagreement for people in the community. I'm fully prepared for people to comment on some of our future videos and tell me I'm an idiot for passing on Devin A-Chain. A-Chain, excuse me. But to me, he is too small, and he's not like a thick, big built running back. That's what Blake Corum is, though. He's 5'8", 210 pounds. 5'8", 210. I thought I was showing you guys. Here you go. 5'8", 210 pounds. The production is there. He's shown to be a true workhorse running back. Almost 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. And he's done it extremely efficiently as well in the Big Ten, which is pretty good competition. So I don't know that I would say Blake Corum will be an absolute superstar, but I think he could be a genuine star in the NFL. I've heard a lot of comparisons to Ray Rice, and I think that's honestly, sometimes I hear someone's comparison, I'm like, dang, that's really good. I wish I thought of that, and I'll try and think of one that's better. But I just think that is probably the best comp for Blake Corum. I think it is Ray Rice. He can catch passes out of the backfield. He's got extreme thickness from his lower body, extreme strength, great runner, good elusiveness. You can give him the ball 20 times a game and he's going to take care of it for you. But I think the reason people are going to be low on him is again, because of the size and because he looks small. Is draft capital more important than landing spot? I would say, look, this is tough. Because in all transparency, we were, both myself and Badake, we were very out on Drake London this year. And I think we might have missed the mark, but at the same time, his landing spot really helped the people who were out on him. I don't have much Drake London on any of my teams. And the landing spot significantly hurt him. And as much as we want to say only draft on talent, which is my number one priority, I would say I focus in my drafts 90% on talent, 10% on landing spot. For example, Drake London, let's say Drake London ended up in, I'm just going to swap their positions. Let's say Drake London ended up being a Saint and Chris Olave was a Falcon. Let's just throw that scenario out there, right? from when your rookie draft happened to a year later, because of their landing spot, doesn't mean that one's more talented than the other, but because of their landing spot, Drake London's value probably rose. And Chris Olave's value in that offense would have massively dropped. So I think what we have to keep in mind is that landing spot is important because perception is people's reality. Every month or every 2 months, people's complete realities and opinions on players change completely. I mean, I'm not going to victory lap this because it's too early, but everyone was out on Treylon Burks. I felt like every person hated Treylon Burks, and I've been telling people to buy him every single week of the NFL season. And I think we're starting to see him potentially start to break out this year. We could see if he could be a league winner maybe. Point being, you bet on talents, but if in this example, Jackson Smith, Addison, Quentin Johnston, Boutte, in this example, if they're all so close for you in your evaluation, then landing spot could be the determining factor there. But what you want to be careful of is only looking at landing spots. We have seen so many examples of that failing people. The most recent example is Sky Moore. Sky Moore should have been an early second round pick. I liked Sky Moore, but I liked him because he was a sleeper. No one was talking about him before the draft, and even in January. But then he goes to the Chiefs, and all of a sudden people are taking him in the first 5 picks of the rookie draft. It's like, so landing spot can't be everything for you because that doesn't work out. But if it's close and you like a scenery a little bit better for a player, then I think that I think that could lean you one way or the other. So that's a long-winded answer, and maybe I didn't make sense, but I hope I did. Let me know. John says, it was top 7 to be in the 2022 draft. Where do you think the drop-off is in the 23 draft? Yeah, I actually completely understand your question as well. We said that a lot last year doing rookie mock drafts and doing real rookie drafts. You wanted to be in that top 7. If you're in that top 7, you're feeling good about whatever player you get. This year, I think there's different tiers, but I think I want all of the first round. I would say like Bijan, Bryce, CJ, and Jameer will be the most sought after prospects this year. So I would say maybe the top 4 is in its own tier. But I would kind of put it at the 109 this year, but I still think that the 112 could be just as valuable as a 106. You got players like Zach Evans, which people are sleeping on. Sean Tucker is going to be probably a later round pick, a later first. Zach Charbonnet. Blake Corum's going to be slept on. I just like the whole first round. I don't know if that answers the question. Have the 2023 rookies been imported into Sleeper? No, unfortunately not. If we did that mock, I would have to use kickers and then just keep track, if that makes sense. I think so as well. What can I get for Adam Thielen in Dynasty? A bag of chips, maybe, perhaps, depending on the chips and how expensive they are, that you have to buy them for your friends. There's really not much trade value at all for Adam Thielen. He's one of those players where it's probably worth much more for you to just keep him on your team and let the light completely burn out. Because no one's giving you a second round pick for Adam Thielen. No way. 32 years old, definitely has peaked. Maybe a late third, but you would just rather keep Adam Thielen, you know? That's how I feel. Drake May and Caleb Williams versus CJ. I'll take the 24 class personally, because I think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback of the 23 and 24 class. But I think they could all be very similar. I truly think they could all be very, very similar. And more than any other position, landing spot matters so much more for quarterbacks than any other position in Dynasty. Coaching staff is important. Offensive line is important. Quarterback room is important as far as like the quarterback coach. So I would say landing spots will be crucial. Darren Sproles for Corum. I can see where you're coming from. Jonathan says I have the 101, probably 107 and 201. What do you think I should pick? The 101 is no doubt for me, Bijan Robinson. I think it's too early, Jonathan, to really tell you how the draft will go after the first 4 picks. Because I think the first 4 picks are Bijan and then some combination of CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think at the 107, you'd be looking at around like a Jackson Smith or Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston, a Sean Tucker, Zach Evans. Those would be the names I'd be looking for. But anyway, guys, I think that is it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the mock draft. Do us a favor, drop a like on your way out. Subscribe. Easiest way to support what we do. Lots of good videos coming out this week. Make sure you enjoy Thanksgiving. But I think you guys are really going to enjoy the videos that I put out. At least I hope so. And we will see you in a future live stream. Enjoy the rest of your night. Be blessed, and we'll talk soon.